How have you been utilizing your LinkedIn account, or do you even have a LinkedIn? Initially, LinkedIn heavily emphasized professional connections. Now, you can use LinkedIn as a means to further your brand through those connections and reach new audiences. Tune in as Mike Peterson talks with Trevor van Woerden on how you can leverage your social network in LinkedIn for audience engagements.
I want to welcome you to the Dominate Your Market podcast, where we interview leaders, CEOs, founders, and high-impact business development professionals to get their insights on how to grow your business efficiently, build an amazing company, and still have a life. Today's guest is, you know what, by the way, I forgot to ask you. How do you pronounce your last name?
I pronounce it Van Woerden.
Van Woerden or Woerden?
Woerden.
Woerden, like as in like the warden of a whatever.
Yeah, with a slight little more of an E in there, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's fine. It's not Warden, it's Woerden.
Word.
Yeah.
Almost like word,
Kind of, yeah, maybe a little bit, maybe a little less like word, more like, I don't know. It's in the middle there. So do your best. It'll be fine.
Okay. No, I was going to ask you ahead of time because people have mispronounced my name my whole entire life. Life.
Well, lay it on me. How do you pronounce your name?
Was Peterson, and everybody says Pedersen.
Okay. Well, see, there you go.
Yeah. So I'm very, very kind of like sensitive to that. Right. So, and I was going to ask you, so Trevor van Woerden?
Perfect. That's perfect.
Trevor van Woerden?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's do this again. Trevor van Woerden. Okay, so your last name is a little bit of a tongue twister for me, but here we go.
That's
Hold
okay.
on. I want to welcome you to the Dominate Your Market podcast, where we interview leaders, CEOs, founders, and high-impact business development professionals to get their insights on how you can grow your business efficiently, build an amazing company, and still have a life. Today's guest is Trevor van Woerden. Trevor is a 25-year seller with a proven track record across multiple industries and a LinkedIn profile dating back to 2006, which I could tell that, by the way. Very, very impressive. He's become passionate about the emerging openness to using LinkedIn platform for authentic engagement instead of just using it as pitch slapping. We will talk about that as well. And now fancies himself, I like this, is great, fancies himself as a bit of a mad LinkedIn scientist. Trevor, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be here.
Mad LinkedIn scientist. I like that. Yes. And pitch slapping. We've got all kinds of things we'll talk about because I think you and I have probably seen it all.
At least a lot.
Well, it was interesting. When I first came across your profile, I definitely made a quick assumption. You're self-employed, you work for yourself, you're independent, and then lo and behold, you work for a company.
I do.
And so
yes, I do.
I do infuse media. We'll talk about that as well. But I do want to find out how that's working in the sense of autonomy and your personal brand. I think it's super impressive. I was literally shocked. I thought, wow, okay, so he's got a company that's flexible with him. Talk about that a little bit, because I think we can go into this whole angle of team members and employees and having their own LinkedIns. Let's talk about that, because I think this is a really important topic.
Well, I appreciate the question. I mean, I do realize that I'm not unique, but it is unusual. And I think it comes out of being a full cycle seller, which is a role that is an old role that's I think intuitively understood. But to me, what it functionally means is that I'm in charge of getting my own leads, creating my own initial conversations, my own first meetings, negotiating and designing whatever the product ultimately is, what the contracts look like, pricing, making sure that they get passed off to client success, that the program goes well, that it is renewed, and the customer is kept happy and the relationship is expanded. So all of that, right, of many of those roles, particularly in B2B SaaS, to whom I actually sell mostly, those roles are segmented. They're broken up, right? They're all chopped up in little pieces. And so when you look at that, all of those little pieces combined, you may see an individual who may have a little part, right? Who you may see on LinkedIn just saying a particular thing about, a given topic around sales or around marketing or around product marketing or product development or renewals or customer success or whatever. And so the reason you see me talking about all of those things, because I'm actually doing all of those things. And as such, I'm in charge of if I'm in charge of creating my own meetings, I'm going to go and hang out where my people are, right? Where my clients are. And yes, I realized that they are also hanging out in marketing Slack communities, but they don't really want me there, right? Because I'm a seller. So where are they otherwise? Well, they're on LinkedIn, right? They're hanging out on LinkedIn. And so I'm going to go there. I'm going to spend time there. I'm going to talk to them and create my own personal brand. And that's why you perceive that I'm sort of footloose and fancy free. But no, I'm here, and I'm trying to hang out where my people are.
Yeah, well, and I think it's neat though, because you definitely are showing your personality, your own personal brand, and really it's and I want to get into this a little bit. And with a lot of the CEO clients I work with, I talk about kind of having these champions, having these people within the organization that do become a little more active on LinkedIn, depending on what their role is in the organization. Obviously, if it doesn't make sense to be on LinkedIn or active on LinkedIn, then don't do it. Right. But I get a fair bit of pushback from CEOs that are like, no, I don't want them. No, and then they want me to explain to them, well, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, in a sense, they're creating their own personal brand, but they are selling for you. They are working for you. And I would say, Trevor, seriously, probably 70% of them push back. They're like, I don't like that. That makes me feel like they could get another job. They're not really loyal to me. And so talk about that a little bit.
Well, gosh, now I can't remember who it was I was listening to. It was a podcast recently, a B2B space, and it was either I wish I remember. I could find it, but it was some talk just about this, and it was saying, what if we train our people, right? Are they going to leave us? And then it was like, well, wait a minute. What if we train them? What if we don't train them and they stay? Okay, that's a big deal, right? Think about that. You really think about it, and that's functionally what these CEOs are saying, right? If I allow my people to, if I constrict them to very defined boxes of communication channels to communicate, email, you can use your email, you can phone. What if those channels die? Now you've got a bunch of people who are not having anything at all happening in their outbound efforts, right? And then you say, well, you don't get to go to live events. No, you don't need to do that. Just use a phone, use the email. You don't get to go out on LinkedIn. You don't get to create your own personal brand. No, you just champion the corporate message. Well, guess what, Michael? I spent like 2.5 years doing that, just that, right? And guess how much engagement I got?
Oh, 0.
Bingo, man, 0. Okay. It was everybody from my company. Oh yeah, sure. Great. Oh, I love your video, Trevor. Great video, man. Awesome. And you can find all the stuff. You can find video. It's out there, buried, dead. Okay. Because not a single human who wasn't employed by Infused Media was interested. But it wasn't until I actually started to say, look, guess what? I have other ideas. I'm a free thinking human, and I need to create engagement somehow or other with people who are not actually employed by Infused, because guess what? We don't sell to ourselves. Right? Then when that happened, now I start to have actually real life, stories and real life interest. And it isn't like, oh, guess what? Oh, well, Trevor's, revenue pipeline just exploded. Okay. I mean, it's fine. I'm over plan, in 2022, it's great. But the bigger thing is the level of engagement that I personally experience in my own day-to-day work, right, is substantially higher. So, and then I'm constantly thinking about, oh, well, what am I going to do different? So I'm in a constant creative, innovative space. And, additionally, I am more sensitive to the new trends that are actually happening in my space and able to speak, to them better. And then I'm able to take product ideas back, right, to the company and say, guess what, guys, this is where this is a new thing. And I'm able to test things. So I don't see where the real risk lies. I mean, I am informed that my paycheck comes from a single source, and I'm loyal to that, right? There's no messing around with that. But how that looks from the outside in is I guess non-traditional.
Yeah, I think if you've got leaders in a company that don't allow you that freedom and flexibility to grow and evolve and expand, that's a really bad mindset, right? That's a very limiting mindset. And it's one where I had a CEO client a while back, and he was I fired him. I fired him. Go figure, right?
Yeah.
How dare me fire a client, right? But it happens all the time. And this gentleman was a dictator. He was sexist. He was abusive. It was horrible. This guy literally across the board, he sent a young gal, a young lady to therapy. And
brutal.
I think she's going to sue him. And this guy micromanaged everything, and he wanted to know everything about everything, every second of every day. And I was telling the two team members, hey, get on LinkedIn and start, doing your thing. No, we're not allowed. He won't. He's watching us. I'm like, he's what? And they said, no, he's watching us. And anyways, long story short, I would assume this guy is going to have a lawsuit against him at some point. Just, but that's an example of a bad leader, right? Across the board, for sure. But just to handcuff somebody like that they're going to quit anyways. They're going to leave that job. So it's really a lose-lose for a leader to do that anyways, right?
And it's totally just caveman thinking, right? It's like, guess what? I just want to live in my cave. I'm not going to acknowledge that, guess what? LinkedIn has changed. It's not the same as it was. And wake up to that fact, right? And deal with it. Right. Yep. And I don't mean deal with it as in like, take your lumps. I mean, like, hey, get after it, chase it down,
take action,
something. Yeah. Be aggressive, get that, apply your MDP, as you would say.
Get
right?
that dominant marketing attitude, right?
Hey, there it is. This is an opportunity. I mean, we are on this, the sun is rising on an opportunity like we don't get to see every day. Seriously, right? Like it, holy crap, we got to do something.
You know what I want you to talk about real quick, because I've got my thoughts on this, but you are the guest. And you've been on LinkedIn since what, 2006, you said?
Yeah, long time.
When did LinkedIn come out, by the way?
I don't know about that, but a little earlier, maybe a couple years.
Yeah, because I was an early adopter, because I got my name, my full name as the URL and all that good stuff way back. Yeah. So I've been on there for a long time. But how, in your opinion, what have you, and I feel like it's recently that's made I've seen a massive change in the last 6 months to a year even, right? With how people are doing their content. But tell our listeners, what have you seen? Let's say 2006, now it's almost 2023, long time. What have you seen with LinkedIn? Like, what changes have you seen in the sense of, not so much the platform, I don't want to get into the technical part of the platform, but like just the content, how people are doing their content, how companies are doing it. What have you seen change?
I'm glad you asked. It brings up a memory. There's a dude out here, a sales leader guy, Scott Leese. And I got to work for Infused Media and he's a total influencer. It's like, I don't know, 100,000 more. I'm just a bajillion followers, top of the line guy, right? Super out there, total leader guy. He reached out to me in 2017 when he wasn't.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. And he said, hey, we got to talk. Da, 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 da. I have the DM. It's there.
I love it.
And I ignored him. I didn't get it. I ignored Scott.
Wow.
Like, I know. I didn't ignore him. I was like, I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. I said something stupid.
We've all been there. That's for sure.
I know. And I'm like, okay. So I'm going to say, okay, Scott got it then, right? 5 years ago. But like any bell curve, right? You're going to have leaders. You're going to have people who are moving things in in these directions. So if I look at it, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm part of the bigger bell. Maybe I'm still in the sort of the front end, but I'm not the front guy. But it's happening. I'm looking behind me and I'm looking at what the potential is, right? So we've gone. I think it was Nick Bennett, who's a field marketer, super leader guy. He's been hyper LinkedIn guy for a couple of years. He's got like 40,000 followers now. It's all-star stud, just rocking guy. And he was talking about like, okay, we've gone from 1% of the LinkedIn population to now it's like the 4. Okay, well, that's a lot. That's a massive change. And we're feeling that. So old creators are kind of cranky because they're not getting as much traffic. New creators are like, hey, I got some traffic and now I don't have as much traffic. No, this is all sort of balancing out. And what's happened is you got some new creators coming on, but you still got, we're gonna do the math. Let's say it's like 750 million people who are not doing really anything.
Yeah, for sure.
So the opportunity for these people to actually become more aware is still coming, right? It's still there. The bulk of that bell curve is still behind us.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I think about that opportunity, and what does that mean? What does that even mean? It means as we've gone from 1% to 4% of people actually creating content, that content has begun to look different.
Oh boy, huge.
Right. It looks totally different now than it looked, even like you said, 6 months, a year ago, or certainly when Scott reached out to me 5 years ago. Right. And what my content looked like, even let's say a year ago, I was just sort of starting to do some stuff. I created these characters, Wendell Webinar and Wally White Paper, and they wear wigs and stuff, but they were still super pitchy, right?
Yeah.
And I bring them out every now and then. They're fun, but it's moved to, hey, I want to know who you are, right? I want to know who you are. I want to know what you're about. I want to know, like, not just that you offer this product to me. I want to know, like, why? Why do you care about it? What drives you? Why do you get up every day? What's funny? What scares you? What excites you? And it's like that. So like yesterday, like I got this silly mustache I'm sporting, right? And it was a 2-word post. Greetings, Movember. Bam. That's it. And a selfie.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. That is it. All right. Can you imagine? And I got decent, I don't want to say like a bajillion impressions, but I got really solid engagement, like 10%. And can you imagine that? Like a year ago?
That's crazy.
A, anybody responding to it. B, it even like responding to it favorably.
Yeah.
No. And that's an example of where it's gone. And the kinds of things that people want to see. And so I to answer, I think in a very, very long-winded way, your question of how has it changed and how is it going to continue to change? It's the personalization, right? It's willingness to be, human and to get into a dance with other people online, right? And that's here. We're there now.
Yeah. I definitely see. I do see a little bit of a. I'll say this in a funny way. So there's outliers in every situation, but I do sense this move over from Instagram to LinkedIn with certain people. Mm-hmm. Some females that I've unfollowed that, thirst traps, whatever you want to call it, right? Okay. It's like, wow, okay, I don't understand why every single one's a post, and it's kind of, it looks like Instagram, right?
Yeah.
So I think when you get into content, I love the idea of showing your personality, whether that's in, like, mine's more aggressive. You've got my book. It's more aggressive. It's kind of blunt, not real empathetic, but I'm working on that part a little bit, because you got to be a little bit empathetic, but I'm just this hardcore driving guy. But I think I love LinkedIn for that you have to find your voice and own it. And be authentic, right? And I think we're all still trying. I haven't found mine yet. I think I'm closer, but I think we're all trying to figure it out so that when people go to our content, it's consistent. They're like, I get it. Michael's aggressive guy. He's driven. He's relentless. God, that's why I got it permanently on my body right there.
Nice.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, I agree with you. It's the personalization has gone way up. Mm-hmm. But you're a sales guy. I'm a sales guy too, but not professional sales. But I've been selling for 25 years. But it's human to human still, right? It's still. I don't care if it's B2B and your client contact is $1 billion company. You're meeting with Susie, who's the buyer or whatever, right? So come on now, it's still human to human. So I think LinkedIn gives you that opportunity, like you. We're going to talk about Hotness Unleashed and the flame of
yeah. We can go there. Yeah.
Well, that caught my attention, because I thought, whoa, who the hell is this guy, right? But it sets you apart, right? It sets you apart. But so I think we both agree the content's become more personalized. Talk about, you mentioned LinkedIn 2.0. Define that. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's kind of a slang term, right? There's like nobody owns that term as far as I know. I mean, it's essentially, though, it refers to this phenomena, right? That it refers to the phenomena of, hey, guess what? A year, 2, 3, whatever it was, but maybe pre-Scott Lease, maybe 5 years ago. But certainly there was a point in time when LinkedIn existed solely to host your resume, right?
Oh God, yeah.
And to communicate with recruiters. Now that function is still there, right? It's maybe even more powerful than ever. But the 2.0 refers to this idea that, guess what? It's also a social network. It is a network on which we make friends, we communicate. There's a group that I'm in, League of Legendary Creators. I think they've named it. And
oh, really?
Yeah, we had a.
I wasn't invited.
You're in now, Michael. You're in. All right.
Wow, I thought I was doing okay, but I guess I'm still just this little tiny dude. Wow.
It's always who you know, right? So, no, I got invited into this, and we did a call yesterday, and I was looking at this Zoom call. There was like 15 of us.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. It was really nice, and it was I don't want to say it was global. Had a guy from Australia and a guy from Switzerland, and then a bunch of people from in between. So it was lovely because I was reflecting and I was thinking, guess what? I only know of all those people, I only know one of them prior to May 28th, 2022. And May 28th, 2022 was the day that I decided to engage in Social Saturday. And that's the day that I marked, like, okay, that's the moment that LinkedIn 2.0 started for me. Okay. And that's the day that I decided to get on the bus of thinking of LinkedIn as an opportunity to actually engage in ways that weren't always about me selling something to somebody. And none of the people that were on the call are I'm going to sell anything to.
That's
ever.
For sure. Yep.
But I had a great time, and they were great people, and I learned from them, and I learned about how this network works. I know how they give me great feedback. They enjoy the Hotness Unleasher show, and they show up for that, and they're my friends.
Yep.
Period.
Yep. I think you're right with the LinkedIn 2.0, and I think so. Knowing that my listeners are CEOs, business owners, founders, maybe some entrepreneurs here or there, but so what they're hearing you and I talk about LinkedIn because you and I we geek out on LinkedIn, right? And,
sure.
And I do feel like it's a huge opportunity for people like you and I to create a brand and get awareness and visibility. But for a CEO, let's say of a $5 to $20 million company, right?
Yeah.
Like smaller company, 20 employees, 50 employees, what can they do to leverage LinkedIn?
Okay, well, let's talk about the Hotness Unleasher show in a second, but we're going to talk about it in this context. Okay, so in your book, Dominate Your Market, you're talking about the developing your market dominating position, right? This MDP, got it. And it's all about talking to your customer about what they care about. Okay, that's the point, right? You've got to get down to you can't talk about yourself all the time. Okay. So the lesson to the CEO is to look at what your action is on LinkedIn and ask yourself that question. Am I talking to my customer about their pain and how they're going to solve it? And guess what? I'm happy to talk because I can do that for you, right? Okay, fine. Eventually we're going to get to a position where we're going to sell. But the evaluation of that is key. Intentional questioning about, am I actually talking about their troubles, right? Their problems, and getting to solutions down the line.
Now, would you say, so like, I don't know who the CEO of Infused Media is.
Yep. Alex
he or
Kessler.
she?
Yep. He. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is he active on LinkedIn, for example? Is he active on LinkedIn?
Not like me. No, he's busy running the company and.
See, that was my point. So that was kind of my question. Maybe I didn't make it clear enough, but so I think CEOs, they're in the trenches. They're running their companies and meetings and all their things, and a lot of times they're very difficult for me to get in touch with, or even my consulting, right? So I think in that situation, if a CEO is listening, we're really talking about team members, supporting them, allowing them the freedom to represent the company, right?
Yep. And it's your team members who are going to be able to talk to the customers, right? Yeah. I mean, as a CEO, lead the company, vision what's coming, and listen to your team members who are hearing what's actually happening, hearing what the customers are actually saying, hearing what the pain points are.
Yep.
Discover that, use that as as audience intelligence gathering.
Yep.
And leverage it. Yeah, do that. But no, as a CEO, I mean, if you're really into LinkedIn and you like the social networking part, do it. Do that. But you're not the only one, right? Unless you're a solopreneur. But I mean, it's like, no, you can let your team do this. I mean, this little company out here, Metadata, they're in the MarTech space, and I love these guys, right? They're really great. I mean, they have a whole team, and they've all agreed, or a bunch of them have agreed to have orange backgrounds. Okay. On their profile.
Orange
pictures.
is my jam, man.
Hey,
that's my jam.
Well, when they show up, right? You can see them, right? And they like your stuff. They're like, and a bunch of them. I call these guys out all the time because it was such a cool thing. And it was partially why I went with turquoise, and I created this thing called the Turquoise Background Club, because I wanted to have allies. Okay.
That's awesome.
I just copied them straight out. Right. And I like turquoise. I got this little bracelet here. Right.
Yeah.
It's
right
meaningful
on
to me. And so it doesn't matter, right? It's some way to affiliate with other people. And as a CEO, guess what? You've got these people who are willing to affiliate because, you're employing them, and guess what? They will, right?
Yep.
But they need to give them room to be authentic. Let them be, human. Let them talk about their own stories. And as they do that, your customers are going to reveal their problems. They're going to reveal their complaints and all that. And so that's kind of, where I sit. And it isn't manipulative, right? It isn't. No. I'm not setting anybody up. I'm just here to, be authentic, right? And be open and say, like, guess what? We buy from those, who we like and trust and who are competent, have a real solution. I mean, that's a little more complicated, but if we never have the chance to like or trust them, okay, how do we differentiate, right? And why would we differentiate one solution over another when everything looks the same anyway, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be that, a competent.
And you are, you're succeeding for sure. You're succeeding for sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, it's awesome. But I want to touch briefly. We're winding down, but this is important. So this would be for all the team members that might be listening to this podcast, or the CEO could mention this in the next meeting. But pitch slapping. Now, oh God, I mean, exasperating. Define what I know what it is, but for our listeners, define what it is. Define kind of give me an experience of what's happened to you. Maybe I know what's happening to me on a freaking daily basis, probably. So what is pitch slapping?
So pitch slapping is when you take a connection request from somebody you don't really know. Okay, fine. That's happening here. That happens all the time, every day, right? And so you take that request, and within seconds you get an automated, typically, buy my stuff, right? And it's that's what it is. And okay, most of the time it sucks, right? Most of the time it's not considered, it's not targeted, it is irrelevant and not helpful.
Yep.
Very, very, very infrequently is it okay, kind of. I know one guy, I got pitch slapped recently. I like you all the time. I know we're running out of time, but this is a good story. So
no, go.
I got slapped, but the guy, it was personalized because he pulled out a piece of content that I wrote 5 years ago. Yeah. Jeez. Literally, it was one of the very, very first things I was trying to do to get attention from a client. And it was it was like an article format or something. He Googled.
Wow.
It was crazy how he found it. And I'm like, dude, respect, because I don't think I could have found it. I mean, it was buried that deep. I remembered it. And I'm like, okay, you got my attention. Thank you. I see that you did try to connect here, and
that's a good effort.
You had intent there. And so, but besides that, I haven't been impressed. InMail, I hate InMail. It's so bad. And I get them, and I'm just like, oh dude, I guess this guy who's on me he wants me to buy a franchise. And I'm like, man, I don't have time to deal with it. It's not that I wouldn't want to ever own a franchise or that franchise isn't a successful model, but I don't want to deal with it, and stop bugging me. It's like, so
how about when you get a message that literally says, hey, tell me what you do. And I'm like, mother effer.
Yeah.
Go read my profile, dude.
Yeah.
Literally on my profile, it says what I do. Do not ask me what I do. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, I know. It is that. But it actually, I want to bring up one last thing. There's an evolution of the pitch slap, and I made up a name. Yes. I made up a name for it, and it's called the post slap.
The post
Okay.
slap.
Yes. So
Okay, keep going.
get a connection. All right, great. They're connected. DMs, they're totally cool, great people, awesome person, right? Love them, friends, They're creating content, and all of a sudden their content shifts. Okay. And now it isn't about them or about what they're into or perspectives on their market. It's buy my stuff. Okay. Hire me. I'm a coach. This is my course. All right. And there's a time and a place for that. But what I'm seeing more and more, particularly as LinkedIn 2.0 kind of goes along, and there's a lot of hungry people. So my heart goes out. But I would just beg and plead not to lose your authenticity in a sea of that hunger, right?
Desperation almost.
Be aware that I want to engage with you in the 2.0 framework of, I just think you're great, right? And maybe I'm not going to be a customer, maybe I'm going to refer to you, but I still want to know who you are. I want to know what your challenges are. I want to know what your successes are and so on. I don't just want to hear about your company.
Right.
Every single time you post, because if you do that, I'm not going to engage. And guess what? I'm not going to see your posts anymore. You're going to go away. LinkedIn will see to it that I don't see your stuff anymore if I'm not engaging with it. So understand that that's happening. And the fear is that while we can see pitch slapping, it's got a hard definition. I worry that a lot of folks aren't seeing the post slapping that's going on.
Well, I think what a lot of people do is they lose patience.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we live in an instant gratification world, and we all can admit that, right? We're seconds. I want something now. So when you're on LinkedIn, it is a long-term strategy, and it evolves all the time. Yeah. So if you lose that patience and just say, screw it, I sell this and this is what I'm going to do, then it's over. Yeah. For LinkedIn, it's over, right?
I think so. And I mean, there's you can kind of do it in measured bits, right? But not most, certainly not always. Mm-hmm. And you can you can put it in your profile page, you can write a post, you can put it up as a featured piece of content if you must. There's so many ways you can do it. You can buy advertising. I mean, there's any number of ways that you can get your message out there, but using that sacred post space just to talk about your business is just going to push people away.
It's a no-go. It's a no-go. Okay, so in winding down the Hotness Unleasher show, that's a tongue twister. Hotness Unleasher show.
Yep.
So what is it? What's the plan? Talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so the Hotness Unleasher show evolved out of a V Coffee that I scheduled with Stephen Eng back in August, right? And he and I were really into the Social Saturday movement at the time, and we said, or I said to him, because I was trying to find the only time he had on his calendar was 8 a.m. on a Saturday. And I'm like,
I'm on a damn mountain at that time.
Yeah, so I know you are.
Screwed.
So but hey, you can come this week because it's going to be Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific. But yeah, because we're doing the Down Under version. Anyway, I'm like, hey, guess what? Let's do it live because that's the Social Saturday time. That's when everybody's doing their Social Saturday thing. And we can comment on Victoria Torkars's post because at the time, she was getting like 10,000 comments, right?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I know. It was insane. So
wow.
And Stephen was like, okay. And so he was freaking out. And then we invited Julie Maury in and there were three of us did a live. Okay. And then I did another week after that with Daniel Knight and Allison McMaster. And that went really well. It was really fun. And then I did another one. And I kind of get the episodes mixed up from that point forward, but by episode 4, it evolved into the Hotness Unleasher show because I was carrying this title called Hotness Unleasher, and Hotness Unleashing is the only thing it is it's a twist on Dale Carnegie's idea that the sweetest sound anybody can hear is the sound of their own name. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when we pay attention in an intentional way to other people or their work, it unleashes hotness. It makes us feel good. Right. Doing that is a superpower that we have on LinkedIn. All right. Not talking about ourselves, talking about our friends, our people, our clients, whatever. Talk about them. Right. We can do that endlessly here. Right. And it's good. And so I was like, okay, that's my mission. So I'm going to be the Hotness Unleasher. I'm going to focus on that.
That's
and
awesome.
And essentially then name the show, created a show called Hotness Unleasher Show, and learned a lot about how to do it. Right. How to how to start a live show, how to produce a live show, what goes into it, what you need to watch out for, how to make it happen and pull it off so that people show up. And now we're getting, last week was a little bit down, but we've had as many as 235 people and
on a Saturday morning.
Yep.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, for a LinkedIn Live, that's pretty good because a lot of times you get like one.
Yeah,
zero,
right.
Zero is not out of the question. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So it's pretty fun. And I am going to be going through Thanksgiving Saturday. I don't quite have that worked out yet, but that'll be a wrap on this season. I'm going to start up a new show in hopefully early Q1 next year. It's going to be called the Rev Optimist Show. So it's a kind of a play on RevOps and the go-to-market stack and B2B. And it'll be a little bit different twist. I'm still kind of working those details out, but similar in terms of construct and so on. And so that you ask, why the heck, how could you justify a show like the Hotness and Leisure Show? I needed to learn how to do it, right? And besides, I like people, right? And these are my friends, and it was fun, and it was on my own time, and great. So let's do that. But guess what? Now, 3 months later, 2.5 months later, I know how to do it. I know how to run a live show. I know how to host it. I know how to get the guests. I know how to work it out. I know the steps. I know the software and all that stuff. So now I can go into Q1 and I can have a more business focused, or at least, a show that is more directly related to, my day job and support my employer.
Well, I love the idea that you said, well, let me just dip my toes in. Let me figure this thing out. And then I'll go and do the one that's really specific to your business. Yep. I think that's a good tip for a lot of people right there, right? Like, honestly, instead of getting nervous about, oh my gosh, I'm going to put myself out there. This is my business. I'm going to explode. I'm not going to feel good. Well, then do it more on the casual side. Whatever this is you're thinking of doing, just do it on a real casual side. Just get the reps in first.
Yep.
Like you did. That's a great tip right there. So to wind down the show, I always ask everybody, what's a good book? And I know you have a yellow book somewhere in your, you don't need to say this. That's so much. Show it to me. Show it. Yes. Cool. Okay. No, what is a good book that you've completed, that you've read in the last 6 months that you're like, wow, this thing kind of had a profound impact on me. Like I would definitely tell other people to read it. What book have you read? And maybe it was even in the last year. It doesn't have to be last 6 months. Yeah.
No, it was Andy Paul's book. And it's like selling with your personal. The name of
he's good.
Andy Paul. And it was basically like, don't try to persuade people with slimy stuff. Be authentic. Be your real self, and that's what's going to win the day, right? Mm-hmm. I read it over the summer, and it was really, really good. Really kind of and made me change some of my practices, not in terms of like, I've always kind of tried to be authentic, never been much of a persuader in terms of, Glengarry, Glenn Ross, that kind of stuff. I hate that, right? It's just straight up like, hey, do you need this? This is what the value is. This is why this is what makes us different. I'm here, I'm responsive, right? So responsiveness is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Creating ways for us to collaborate in real time. So I actually implemented a solution there on my own, and that's it's a little clunky, but still, I'm working on it. So intentionality around this. So that was a great book. The other one I want to call out is Hush Money by Jackie Abram.
Hush Money.
Yeah, it's about systemic racism in the workplace, and boy, it's a fictionalized telling of her story. And it's self-published, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, I got it on my Kindle, and there's a sequel that it's in my queue, but it's challenging. It was hard. It's hard to read and hard to process. And I think that as in our modern world, the stakes are not the table's not level, right? It's not a level playing field.
I agree.
And so I think being open to consuming content by in this case Jackie, hopefully it makes me better, right? Hopefully it makes me more sensitive and more effective in this world.
So it's called Hush Money.
Hush money. Yep.
Interesting. Okay. So Andy Paul. So when I was looking down, I wasn't being rude.
No, it's okay.
I was trying to get the name. Sell Without Selling Out.
Yes, that one. Mm-hmm.
Andy Paul. So the book is Andy Paul, author, title Sell Without Selling Out. Okay, there you go. So our listeners now know that one. Good.
Yeah. Excellent book. Yep.
Trevor, thank you so much for being on. I was really looking forward to this because I knew you'd bring some heat, some energy, the vibe. And this is what I really enjoy about this podcast is conversational. I want it to be fun for people, but I want people to get value. So I want to thank you so much for your time, sir.
You're welcome. Pleasure to be here.
You've just listened to the Dominate Your Market podcast with CEO, business consultant, and author Michael Peterson. Growth-minded CEOs hire Michael to explode their revenues, build an amazing company, and create a transformational mindset that encapsulates growth, success, and ultimately happiness. His book, Dominate Your Market, is creating quite a stir in the marketplace. Go to dominateyourmarketbook.com and get your first chapter free.